What is the end stage of the conservative Christian worldview? What, on the opposite end, is the end stage of the progressive worldview? Let's explore that today. And well, we're going to be looking at the trans shooter, the trans stabber. We're going to be looking at MAID, and we're going to be looking at the numbers are in across the board for those things. And then, of course, we're going to start off with the Supreme Court case on can Trump levy tariffs? And the short answer is yes and no. It all comes down to what is the end stage of your worldview? And that's a question. That is the word of the day, worldview. What does worldview mean, Charlie?
That is, so it's commonly referred to as the lens through which you see and interpret the world.
Okay, I think, and that's pretty accurate. How you interpret the world is very important. Not all worldviews, I believe, are compatible. How's it going, Miss Nikki?
It's going well, actually.
Glad to have you there, Chair of Theology. Yep. Yours truly, John Arthur, sitting in the Chair of Philosophy. I've already introduced Charlie in the Chair of Culture. How's it going?
It is going well.
And to his left, we got Steve.
Yes, sir, man. This sounds like a good time to be really politically incorrect.
There you go.
And our maid is not a
person
that takes care of your house.
It takes care of your end of life.
Yep.
Correct.
Medical assistance in dying. I cut you off, Charlie. What were you going to say?
No, I'm good. This is going to be an interesting podcast.
Mr. Producer, thank you for being there. Rai, the producer guy behind the chair.
That's me.
Thanks for being there.
My pleasure.
Let's go ahead and get into the Supreme Court case, because here's the question. Does the president have the flexibility to tariff certain incoming goods or materials? So we're going to look at Roberts's opinion in his rule in the majority ruling, and then we're going to look at specifically Clarence Thomas's dissent. And I think Thomas really did a good job laying it out. It is 170 something pages, the entire case. As always, these are a chonker to get through. We have all read various amounts on it, but suffice it to say, it is a lot of data. I do think Thomas was the most interesting of all of them. But to start, Mr. Producer, can you pull me up cut one? We'll start with the opinion given by John Roberts. So this might be small for you guys to read, but I'm just going to read the highlighted sections. You can find this at Further Every Day, anywhere you can find your podcast. The link will be there. Enacted in 1977, the IEEPA gives the president the economic tools to address significant foreign threats. When acting under the IEEPA, the president must identify, quote unquote, unusual and extraordinary threat to American national security, foreign policy, or the economy originating primarily, quote unquote, outside of the United States. Now, pause that just for a second, Mr. Producer. The issue is, does that exist? And remember, this case is being brought by a couple of small businesses who are using Chinese goods, and the tariffs do affect people who are trying to buy stuff from China and are trying to sell it here. I have a lot of sympathy for the small business owner who is put into a bind by these tariffs. Mm-hmm. There is something that has happened. We have offloaded all of our manufacturing power to China. And this is something that will tax people who are buying their stuff from China. So Roberts is coming out and saying, worldview. There must be an existential threat for the president to do this under the IEEPA. And he's got to establish that. And this is where you're going to see Roberts doesn't think that President Trump has established that. And I'm only reading from the conservative-ish Roberts' opinion, because the other opinions are different. I think this is going to be a good dichotomy of where does the conservative worldview kind of sit, and not the crazy. You're laughing.
I was just thinking the Katanja Brown.
Yeah.
I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, and I can't agree with Trump.
I'm not sure she counts. Honestly, I'm not sure she counts.
So, and by the way, I keep throwing that out there. IEEPA, just let me throw that out there. International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Mm-hmm. And that was, again, something that was put in place a long time ago, and now we're reinterpreting, does the president have the ability to put emergency tariffs down? Sorry, go ahead, Steve. I know you had a thought.
You know, there are so many items right now that are imported into the United States that have been handed over to foreign countries to produce, that either the United States doesn't manufacture or only manufactures in this country maybe 10%, and the rest is produced either by China
Yep.
or India, and that's where we get it.
And that's where we're buying it. And it's all from BRICS, basically a foreign entity power coalition, a new axis of power in the world.
Correct.
So going concern on the chat here brings up a good question, and this is a question that many people would have. Why can't we make what China sells us? The answer to that is we can. And the issue becomes the cost to produce.
If I am starting an Amazon company, okay, and I want to sell paper, I can buy it from China for a fifth the price. I have done this, by the way. I have sold wholesale online before. I can buy it from a fifth the price from people who are ultimately, they're in America, but they're ultimately getting it from China.
Yep.
All right. So this is my experience. I tried to buy American as often as possible. And this is as someone who actually has been in the position of these companies, I understand their livelihood is on the line. I get it. And there's a lot of consternation because I've actually been on that side of things before, where ultimately what I was buying, the irreducible parts were ultimately coming from China. And you have to spend 5 times to get it done made in America. So the question is, do we tariff that? And do we reward people who buy within the United States? And we're going to get to Thomas. So we need to keep going because Thomas actually lays this out. Thomas, spoiler alert, says it is not a right to be able to import goods and sell them in the American economy. That is not a right that is articulated in the Constitution. And it is something that had always been taxed in the time of our founding fathers. To wit, they used tariffs to make sure that there was some protection for the American economy. And that's actually what funded.
Wasn't that what the Tea Party was kind of all about?
So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Go ahead and cut one back up, Mr. Producer. So this is Roberts again saying he may then, by means of instruction, licenses, or otherwise, take the following actions to deal with the threat: investigate, block during the pendency of an investigation, regulate, direct, and compel, nullify, void, prevent, or prohibit any acquisition, holding, withholding, use, transfer, withdrawal, transportation, importation, or exportation of, or dealing in, or exercising any right, power, privilege with respect to, or transactions involving any property in which any foreign country or national thereof has any interest. So, thank you, Mr. Producer. This is where I would say, full stop. Thank you. You've made our point. Remember, what's the word of the day? Worldview. Your worldview will interpret the law. This is the problem. We have postmodernists, even on the conservative side. Mm-hmm. We have people who do not see America as being capable of defending itself, even on the American side. In the conservative wing, I'm doing scare quotes for those of you on audio, in the conservative wing, quote unquote, of the Supreme Court. They do not have the same worldview. This is a problem that is much deeper than our politics. We can try to get the next, we can get J.D. Vance in next time, and he can put 2 more Supreme Court justices on. But if they're like Barrett and Roberts,
we're in trouble.
Guys, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because if they don't have a conservative worldview, i.e., China's on our back door. Trump is trying to negotiate peace for I'm going to leave the partisanry out of it for the second, because the Democrats, they at least stick together. I'm not even going to appeal to that, saying that Republicans should stick together. Maybe Barrett, maybe Gorsuch and Roberts, maybe they should stick to the conservative side. Maybe they should, because the Democrats that's part of good prudence. That's part of good policy. The Democrats will always do this, and they are hamstringing Trump. Why? For this their own interpretation of this law that we just laid out. The president has the right to regulate. That does include license in theory, and a license has to have a fee, which Thomas will get to. But again, they're going to side against Trump because they don't see China as a imminent threat. That's the problem.
Well, I think what you said there, Robert said he hasn't established that it's a threat.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna watch for what Trump does next. I think they've had a plan in place that they've been talking about what's going to happen if the Supreme Court.
I'm not sure they even need a plan. I mean, I thought Kavanaugh, I think he was kind of sticking his nose, kind of flipping his thumb out to the rest of them. Trump doesn't need to do it under the ways that he's doing it.
And
he
I
can
think-
go to different sections
And
to do
Kavanaugh,
it.
and Kavanaugh said that. But let's continue with the opinion. I want us to be armed to be able to bring this conversation to folks in our day-to-day at the water cooler at work with friends, family, and relatives and say, look, at the end of the day, the question mark isn't, does Trump have the right? Because he clearly does in some circumstances. The question is, what really came down to the leading opinion and the best dissent is, are we at war with China?
And I want to add one more quick thing. Larry Kudlow, I thought, had a really interesting response to all this. For all the liberals who think they have just won this, they have not.
Trump has not even started a fight.
No.
So let's go ahead and continue for just a little bit further because I think this is important. So back to cut one, Mr. Producer. The government moved to transfer the learning resources case to the CIT. It argued that the district court lacked jurisdiction over 28 U.S.C. 1581, which gives CIT exclusive jurisdiction of any civil action commenced against the government that arises out of any law of the United States providing for tariffs or their administration and enforcement. The district denied that motion and granted the plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction, concluding that the IEEPA did not grant the president the powers to impose tariffs. I'm scrolling just a little bit further down. Judge Cunningham concurred with 4 judges, reasoning that the IEEPA did not authorize the president to impose tariffs. These are judges who generally do not align with the president and his agenda. It's partisan. But continue on to the next page. Based on 2 words, not the next cut, don't worry about it, Mr. Producer. Based on 2 words separated by 16 others in the section 1702 of IEPA, regulate an importation, the president asserts the independent power to impose tariffs on imports from any country or any product at any rate for any amount of time. Those words cannot bear such weight. Pause. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Just hold up. Right now, he's doing it until Congress can lock it in, because he has to have the ability to negotiate. We are in an economic war with China. We have been since the 90s. Bill Clinton effectively declared it against the United States when he opened the doors. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a globalist threat. The problem is a lot of conservatives don't realize this, so-called conservatives. They do not realize that there's a globalist threat. World view. Mm-hmm. They do not have their eyes open. They do not know what's coming. So what we need to do is we need to be sharp, prepared, and to wit, ready to argue our case, to give an apologia, an apologetic, a reasoned defense for what we believe. It is important because here's the thing. Some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, he's going on about tariffs and trade. This is the finger in the dike that's keeping the dam of World War III from breaking. If you really want to boil it down, that's where we are. Bring up cut number 1 again, Mr. Producer. Just for the final here. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution sets forth the powers of the legislative branch. The first clause of that provision specifies that Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. It is no accident that this power appears first. The power to tax, was Alexander Hamilton explained, the most important of the authorities proposed to be conferred upon the Union in Federalist number 33, which we've read. It is both a power to destroy, McCulloch v. Maryland, and a power necessary to the existence and prosperity of a nation, the one great power upon which the whole national fabric is based. I agree with Roberts. This is true. The federal does, the federal government does have the right to impose those tariffs, and specifically Congress is the one who's supposed to levy those. But in cases of national emergency, the executive has to have the ability to do some of this when it comes to our national sovereignty. Otherwise, if you've read the Federalist Papers,
I was going to say the Federalist
if you've
Papers.
read any of the documents between the Founding Fathers, any of the letters, the executive must have the ability to do any of these things within a narrow parameter, not to impinge upon the Congress's made laws. And Thomas actually goes to make this case, and we'll get to that in just a second. I want one more piece from Roberts. Cut number 2, Mr. Producer. The power to impose tariffs is very clearly a branch of taxing power. A tariff, after all, is a tax levied upon imported goods and services. Scrolling down a little bit further. Indeed, the framers expected the U.S. government would for a long time depend on chiefly tariffs for revenue. The Federalist number 12, Hamilton. Little wonder, then, that the first Congress's first exercise of its taxing power and second enacted law, right after the one providing for the new officials to take an oath, was a tariff law, recognizing the taxing power's unique importance and having just fought revolution, motivated in large part by taxation without representation. The framers gave Congress alone access to the pockets of the people. The government thus concedes, as it must, that the president enjoys no inherent authority to impose tariffs during peacetime. Thank you, Mr. Producer. That's the key word. Are we in peacetime? We have more wars on the globe, the face of this globe, than we ever have. And there's one guy who stopped 8 of them. How did he do it? Tariffs. This is very important to remember when you're talking to your lib family member. It's important to remember that this is the method of getting peace. There is a war that America has interest in 3 or 4 different countries right now. And Trump walked into de facto 2 Cold Wars, 2.5 Cold Wars, if you include Taiwan, Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, Russia. He walked into 2.5 Cold Wars right now. And he's using tariffs as a negotiating tool. Cut his legs out at the world's peril. I don't mean to sound overwrought, but that is what we're doing right now.
You know, it's what he calls the art of the deal.
That's 100% right. And so, again, it all comes down to worldview. Do we have a coherent worldview? Next cut, Mr. Producer. I want to read from Thomas. So Clarence Thomas, one of the best justices. We're going to scroll down here. The blue is what we've highlighted from his opinion. Because the Constitution assigns Congress many powers that do not implicate the non-delegation doctrine. Pause real quick. Who here knows what the non-delegation doctrine is?
I do not.
Okay. So non-delegation, it's pretty simple. If it's not delegated...
Oh, it's open game?
It's something that is worth the 2 branches looking at, specifically saying, okay, if it wasn't delegated to one, is it delegated to the other? There has to be... The judiciary can't be running around shutting down the executive every 5 seconds for something that is on the line without setting up new laws. Congress must get off its butt and actually put a law in, and they don't. And this is what's happened. We have given over Congress to the judicial, and the Congress has become such an anemic, limp-wristed
Right.
that the judicial and the executive have both come over. That's the real. All of this is a symptom of that. But continuing on, Mr. Producer, cut number 3, please. Let's go back to there. The non-delegation doctrine, Congress may delegate and the exercise of many powers to the president. Congress has done so repeatedly since its founding with this court's blessing. Power over foreign commerce was not within the core legislative power, and engaging in foreign commerce was regarded as a privilege rather than a right. Early Congresses often delegated to the president power to regulate foreign commerce, including through duties on imports. Therefore, to the extent that the court relies on the separations of powers principles to rule against the president ante at 8, opinion of Roberts, Chief Justice, it is mistaken. Neither the legislative vesting clause nor the due process clause forbids Congress from delegating its other powers. As this court put it 2 centuries ago, although the Congress cannot delegate powers that are strictly and exclusively legislative, it can certainly delegate others. Wayman versus Southward. Again, this is something that Thomas is leaning out. Thank you, Mr. Producer. He's saying, look, it is many times we have delegated this. You cannot rule against what the president has already done. The executive has already made these deals. You didn't stop it before. It's not illegal what Trump did. And we've always known this. It's tap dancing on the line. We've all been concerned about getting these codified. But the problem is we are in a state of 3 different wars. Okay, one that hasn't touched off, Taiwan, China. But they are riding the line. They are riding that line. They are on that fence, ready to hop over. And then you got Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, Russia. Okay, we are in the middle of 2 proxy wars, and Trump is rolling these out. Okay, that is the question. Does the president, does the executive have the right to do that to stop World War III? I think he does. The problem is not all, scare quotes, conservatives would agree with that because we don't have a coherent worldview.
I would agree. Conservatives have, well, I won't call them conservatives. Republicans have the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate. There's no reason this could not be taken care of tomorrow.
Yeah.
This could be taken care of tomorrow, but you have all these rhinos
who just will
and
not.
I have no idea how some of these people get elected. Yeah. I and then call themselves a conservative.
I think some of them are going to be on their way out here pretty soon.
I think so.
These midterms are going to
I'm hoping, guys.
Move a few more off.
We're in Texas. I hope Cornyn.
I don't think he makes it.
Look, I don't know who you guys are voting for. I'll just say I did vote for Paxton. Paxton has an interesting history, but the more you look at Paxton, the more you
He's
look
a
at
fighter.
You look at the allegations against him. There's one case where there might have been some good old boy stuff. But here's the thing: it's like Trump. There are so many times that they have said Trump did this, Trump did that. It's the same thing with Paxton. There are so many times where they've said he did this, he did that. I look close enough. The one good old boy where he might have done something in Austin that might have had a conflict of interest. The truth of the matter is, I've worked with Paxton's office to do stuff here for election integrity in Texas. I've worked with Paxton by 2-degree separation over and over again. I've seen the politics. I've seen what it looks like. I'm going to assume that, honestly, it's like Trump. It's just one more smear. Yep. I am so tired of it. Cornyn, on the other hand, out the door. Wesley Hunt. I have always supported Wesley Hunt. The one difference between him and Paxton, I'll just say, Paxton, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know that he's aligned with Trump's agenda, and I know his track record. So be involved in your local races. Be involved in your primaries. You may or may not agree. By the way, Wesley Hunt is an awesome dude. I thought about voting for him. It's partly just because Wesley Hunt is not going to beat Paxton and Cornyn. One of those two is going to be in the runoff. And both of those are going to be in the runoff, rather. We're going to have a runoff race is what I think it's going to be. Make sure that you're looking at your local Senate races. Make sure that we get rid of your Senate and your Congress. Get rid of the rhinos because we cannot continue to do that. That's just a little sneak peek. If you're not from Texas, that's a little bit of what's going on our side of things.
It's hot and heavy in Texas right now.
And people really want to get upset about Paxton because they say he's corrupt. I don't think he's actually corrupt.
We need to get rid of Cornyn.
We need to get rid of Cornyn, and Paxton is aligned on Trump's agenda. That's really important. It's really important. Anyway, to continue on, let's keep reading Thomas, because Thomas dropped some huge gems here. This is going to be cut number 4, Mr. Producer. For most of American history, the non-delegation doctrine was understood not to apply to these powers. Contra ante 46 Gorsuch concurring, the early Congresses felt free to delegate certain powers to President Washington in broad terms. The Constitution gives Congress the power to grant patents, but Congress in 1790 delegated to executive officials the power to grant patents in their discretion. The Constitution gives Congress the power to raise armies, but Congress in 1791 delegated to the president the power to raise an army of 2,000 troops in his discretion. The early delegations had one thing in common. They didn't implicate the legislative vesting clause or the due process clause. None of these statutes disturbed the natural rights or intruded into the core of the legislative power. The Constitutional Convention seemed to agree with this understanding of the delegation. James Madison proposed an amendment clarifying that the president had the power to, quote, execute such other powers, unquote, as were, quote, delegated by the national legislature, unquote, so long as the delegated powers were not legislative or judicial in their nature. Pause, Mr. Producer. That right there is the main distinction. Tariffs and licenses aren't inherently the Congress's sole purview. And because that was something that has in history over and over again, we have 3 different cases of presidents, including I believe it was it Taft and 1 or 2 others, actually levied tariffs on countries during strife and unrest with other nations as part of a negotiating tactic. Someone can fact check me if it was Taft or someone else in the early 1900s. We had multiple cases of employing tariffs to get an outcome in war, or rather to prevent war, to censure other countries. It's fast and it has to be done fast. And someone has to be able to do it. Congress is not able to do it. And these aren't supposed to be necessarily long-term unless these countries don't capitulate and they don't play ball. Trump has repeatedly reduced the tariffs in multiple cases. So just while you're looking that up, Charlie, same cut, Mr. Producer, number 4, just to finish that off, next page. As a matter of original understanding, historical practice and judicial precedent, the power to impose duties on imports is not within the core legislative power. Congress can therefore delegate the exercise of this power to the president. And as we'll see in a moment, they actually have. Next cut, Mr. Producer, number 5. It's a little bit nerdy, guys, but bear with me. You'll hopefully be informed. A person has no core private right to import goods at the founding. On the founders' understanding, statutes allowed for the importation of goods from abroad were thought to create mere privileges rather than core private rights. Pause, Mr. Producer. Why would that be an issue? Why would it be a privilege to import something into the American economy as opposed to a right?
Oh, wow. Because
as a manufacturer or as a company.
Why would that be your right to bring your goods into the United States of America? It's not your country.
Because it involves someone outside of. You are entering into commerce to the lack of value, to the harm, potentially, you could argue, or at least to the lack of benefit to an American manufacturer.
Right.
And so when was this ever a right? In fact, guys, the globalist agenda is really what made this a right in Clinton's era.
Okay, so the question that just popped into my mind was the UK. Do they import American vehicles? My understanding is they do not. Well, why don't they?
It's expensive to do it. Yeah.
Well, is it expensive? Are they trying to protect their own manufacturing? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it is.
And they have that right.
Absolutely.
They have that right. That's their country. That they have the.
And they should do it. But Clinton and his ilk opened up the doors. The globalists opened up the doors. And so we in the conservative movement are taking on this pseudo-libertarian idea that it's of course I can go and buy from someone who says they're literally our enemy while we're at war with them. Okay, we're in 2 proxy wars where Chinese troops are on the ground. Okay? We can go and buy from them and give literal commerce aid to the enemies of America. Since when was that a right? I think Thomas brilliantly articulates the problem with this. Same cut, Mr. Producer. The next page, for those of you following along, if you're reading, I'm just reading the highlighted stuff. Since the 1790s, Congress has consistently delegated to the presidential power over foreign commerce, including the power to impose duties on imports. Practically every volume of the United States statutes contains broad delegation to the president in the area of foreign commerce. The Act of June 4th, 1794, Statute 372, it authorizes the president to make such regulations as the circumstances of the case may require. In exercising that delegated power, Congress allowed the president to impose the embargo as, in his opinion, the public safety shall so require. In 1795, Congress delegated to the president the power to permit the exportation of arms, cannon, and military stores, the law prohibiting the exportation of the same to the contrary notwithstanding. Congress likewise delegated to the president the power to set duties on imports. In 1815, Congress delegated to the president the power to lower reciprocal duties when he was satisfied that the other nation's trade practices no longer operated to the disadvantage of the United States. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Does President Trump have the right to put a tariff on China or the EU or Canada, who are specifically playing ball with someone that we are at war with? No, duh, Sherlock. But the question is, do you buy into the globalist agenda, or do you have a truly conservative value where you're conserving liberty and love under Christ? Where do you stand? Barrett, Gorsuch, Roberts, where do you stand? Clearly with not with liberty under God, under Christ. I don't like to say stuff like that. I don't like to come out, but at very minimum, you are not playing for the same team. And I'm not talking about gamesmanship. I'm talking about worldview. Like I said, I could make the argument that the Democrats always stick together. The Democrats are always on each other's side, and they always fight. They never break rank because they know that their goal is important to their worldview. And the conservatives don't. I'm not going to make that argument that the conservatives on the court should have stuck because they're playing for the same team. I'm going to make the argument that they have a problem with their worldview. And we as a nation, we as a conservative Christian movement, have a problem with our worldview. That's the issue.
That's really well articulated, especially when you look at a Ketanji Brown Jackson and Clarence Thomas. Mm-hmm. You cannot get more diametrically opposed in worldview than those two.
And even Roberts, though, clearly has no understanding of the globalist agenda, or worse, supposedly, allegedly, he might have been on the island. Don't know what that means anymore because there's a lot of people on that list who are probably not guilty of exactly what that is, but he's probably guilty of other things.
But look at when you look at Roberts, I go back to the issue of Obamacare.
Yeah.
And to me, that was very telling. To flip your vote at the last moment like that, that kind of told me what to expect on something like this. And sure enough, here we are.
Correct.
He's coming across as this tax law expert, and I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nikki.
Well, here, the reason that Ketanji Brown and the other Sotomayor and the other one are it's worldview. It's the Democrats that put them on there because hoping to break down the Constitution. And
but even with Kagan in Sotomayor, once in a while they come out with something that's
somewhat
sane-sounding.
That's true.
That's the thing. These people, Ketanji Jackson's the one that I think might actually be like without any values.
I would agree.
Sotomayor and Kagan hold to their worldview.
Yes.
Whereas Jackson, I feel like she's more of from what I've seen, I get the sense that she's more of a team player. Whereas Sotomayor and Kagan appear to mostly be following their worldview for the most part, which includes might makes right, which includes that, but they at least are able to articulate clear ideas. Whereas Barrett and whatnot, Barrett, Gorsuch, Roberts, they are regularly gishing and gawing on the substance of the issue because I don't think they have a clear worldview. And this is one of those situations. Are we at war with China? Yes or no? If yes, then the president clearly has precedent to do what he is doing. Steve.
Yeah. Here's a question for you three. I almost caught myself.
Keep going.
2020 Liberty is asking, is misguided worldview a euphemism for treason?
Only if you have a lack of understanding of who Christ is. I'm talking about the treason to the next kingdom. But yeah, I think a misguided worldview is not inherently treasonous, and it's not a euphemism for that. I'm trying to take these people for exactly where they are. I am not calling Barrett evil. I'm not calling Ketanji Jackson Brown necessarily evil. I'll call Ketanji Jackson Brown's worldview evil. I think Barrett has a worldview. I think her worldview is either incomplete or it is not a constitutionally conservative and Christian worldview. She's a good Catholic, right? She has all of that behind her. If I remember correctly, I believe she's Catholic. Someone fact check me.
No, she is
she's Catholic.
I think she is.
So, and look, she should have an understanding that nations have a right to defend themselves and that we are in a war. But she may not see that that is the case at the moment. Maybe she does. Okay.
I think you're right there. And here it is. If you talk to the average person, go to work, they don't want to talk about politics. Most of them don't, because they have to cut through so much to get to the truth.
You have to think.
You have to think and you have to analyze. And that's become true with the Epstein files. Everybody thinks, oh, if your name's on the Epstein files, you must be a pedophile. Well, no, not everybody on the Epstein files is a pedophile.
Yeah.
So he was in different fields, financial and all this.
He was a fixer. He was a weapons dealer.
I mean, Whoopi Goldberg was on there and she was just asking about using the plane.
Whoopi wasn't. I doubt it.
Yeah,
I doubt she was with
Well,
children.
she brought her email out so everybody could see it. But we were groomed to think. You were groomed to think.
Just because.
Yes. But what I was going to get to was because America has not been in a world war in so long, we're kind of like the frog that sits in
the water is getting boiled.
And it's, they're comfortable. And it's going to be too late before they realize, oh, we should have been paying attention to this. We should have known this was coming. We should have known this could have happened.
Yeah. So I totally agree.
And I want to clear up one thing. We had
Go ahead.
one guest that is watching asked the question, who flipped the vote? That was John Roberts. And I want to make something really clear here. There's not 100% concurrence on this, but it is strongly supported with some backroom journalism that is what happened. He originally was against Obamacare. When did he flip that vote? Hard to say, but there are numerous people that have said it was toward the end, because you are allowed to flip the vote right before you give the ruling.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm referring to.
That's some Lucy with the football nonsense.
That makes it very suspicious.
It does.
Yeah. So just to continue on, again, guys, I know this is a bit nerdy, and tell us in the live chat, if you are one of our regular listeners, thank you for hundreds of thousands of downloads of the audio anywhere you can find podcasts, on Rumble and YouTube. YouTube keeps deleting views. I literally watch them go by the 20, 30, sometimes the 100 get deleted. So thank you guys for keeping on over there. You can also watch live 1 to 3 Central Standard Time, God's time zone, on PSB's channel at Rumble, Vaughn.live, or DLive. And so, guys in the live chat and anyone in the comment section, go ahead and tell us if this is too nerdy, because I do like doing deep dives into some of these hearings and some of these opinions, because I think it does give us a better idea, where it better equips us to be able to respond on the day-to-day.
You're a nerd.
I am a nerd. Cut number 6, to my fellow nerd behind the desk there. Ryan, delegated to the presidential power to lower and reimpose duties in response to foreign nations' trade practices. This is something that was allowed. See Act of January 7th, 1824. Throughout the early decades of the Republic, Congress continued to delegate to the president similar powers over duties on imports on a regular basis. This court has consistently upheld Congress's delegation of power over foreign commerce, including the power to impose duties on imports. Since the 1790s, Congress has consistently delegated to the president over foreign commerce, including the power to impose duties on imports, practically every volume of the United States. Give me the next cut, Mr. Producer. I believe we went over this earlier. Oh, wait, no, we didn't. Go back one. Since the 1790s. Okay, we got that one. Moving on to the next page. The principal opinion bases its decision on the major questions doctrine. In some cases, the court has used the major questions doctrine as a canon of statutory interpretation because delegations of major powers are unlikely to be subtle. In today's cases, neither the statutory text nor the Constitution provide a basis for the ruling against the president. I respectfully dissent. Okay. This is a masterclass in how to read and speak and to articulate. If you want to go ahead and read the whole opinion, 174 pages, you are welcome to, but you notice that we only read the highlighted stuff. I went through all of that yesterday, trying to make sure that we'd have a good show for you guys. Let us know if this has been too nerdy, but the fact of the matter is, having gone through it with your own lying eyes and your own lying ears, hopefully you can see this is something I think. Thomas, I wanted to go and pull some older quotes from other opinions. Thomas did such a masterful job, I didn't feel the need to. Suffice it to say, Thomas made a great case for the president does have this authority. It's been delegated to that office over and over and over again, especially when unfair trade practices are in place, and even more especially when you have the threat of war. And this is we are in 2.5 Cold Wars right now with the world's largest superpowers that are stacked on the opposite end of the table. And to make it worse, our allies, the other world superpowers, are sniffing the butts of the commies. I don't know what else I don't know how else to say it. This is a good thing. And Trump's going to use other means. I thought about putting that clip in the roll. Guys, you heard him say it. I have other means. I'll take care of it. You know, he's like, okay, I just screw you. I got it. I'll take care of it. I should have gone there first. Now I'll do that. And he doesn't say what he's going to do because crazy like a fox, Trump is going to slide something else in and he's going to do something else. He's going to do something with licensing.
Well, you know, this hasn't really worried me a whole lot because I remember watching an interview with, I hope I say his name right, Scott Bessent.
Bessent, yeah.
Bessent. And he said, if they rule against us, we have other ways that we can handle this. So the Trump administration were not just sitting back waiting for an answer. They were already at work of what can be done. My thing is we have a conservative Republican House and a conservative Senate. I'm sure that the right-minded conservatives could give the power to the president that he needs. However, you're not going to, you know what, until you actually have Americans becoming very uncomfortable, either through war or economics, they're going to be lost in the liberal mindset or worldview or whatever you want to call it.
Speaking of the liberal mindset and the liberal worldview, we're watching that in state right now in our culture. This week, if your head was underneath the rock, you may not have seen this. However, we had two cases of large profile violence being instituted by those among us who are the best of us. Let's go ahead and play that next clip, Mr. Producer. It's going to be cut number 8. Cut number 8.
A crazed shooter armed with multiple guns.
This from the New York
posted
Post.
online threats to, quote, go berserk, and whose own reported daughter claims had, quote, mental health issues and was very sick. Who was Robert Dorgan, the trans father who fatally opened fire during a Rhode Island high school hockey game?
The look on Mr.
Chaos
Producer's
erupted
face.
during a hockey tournament at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket, Rhode Island on February 16th, when gunshots rang out from the stands around 2:30 p.m., causing families and players to scramble for safety. Harrowing live stream video captured the unfolding chaos as clumps of spectators sprinted to the exit as approximately 11 gunshots were fired from the stands. Many players on the bench pushed to squeeze out of the box, with some ditching their skates in the process. Others vaulted over the barrier surrounding the rink and headed straight for the locker room. 2 people were killed during the heinous massacre, and 3 others were critically injured in what police described as a targeted family dispute. The shooter was later identified as Robert Dorgan, a 56-year-old father whose son was a North Providence High School senior that was competing in the hockey tournament. Dorgan, who was trans and went by the female alias Roberta Esposito, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene.
Notice he chooses
Officials said Dorgan fatally shot one of his own sons and the boy's mother. According to a GoFundMe page, Dorgan's 23-year-old son Aiden and his ex-wife Rhonda were confirmed as the victims who were killed. Investigators are also still probing a motive
Thank you,
for the
Mr.
bloodshed.
Producer. So we, again, the link will be in the description to the full New York Post bit. I don't want to burn a whole 4 minutes on this particular guy, but what I do want to say is this fellow has SS tattoos on his side, and they're like, "Oh, look, he's right wing. He's a neo-Nazi, National Socialist Party."
He really looks
Not a
Hispanic
right-winger.
too, don't he? Roberta Esposito.
Yes, and I am a black Latina, Latinx woman. You know, if you actually say Latin X in the actual act, it's Latinx.
Latinx.
It sounds retarded. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, he definitely does not look like a Esposito. He looks like a Robert White dude who has undergone a lot of damaging therapy. And guys, this is not because we hate the transgenders. In fact, quite the opposite. The people who are monetizing folks who have body dysmorphia, those are the people who are being cruel, who have apathy towards the individual. They have apathy towards their true state. Because if you truly love the person, you would say, Robert, you were born a man. You have a wife, you have children. You need to be the man that they need, not divorce them to go seek transgender affirming care, mutilation, not to go and sulk and get angry and become this vile, vitriolic, bitter person that goes to your child's school and ends your own children's lives. If you watch the whole interview, there's a young lady, she's the daughter of this man, and she's the sole survivor of the family because she wasn't present. And the reporters and the paparazzi are chasing after her. Man,
The sole survivor, it sounds like there's other people that sounds like just his son and his daughter-in-law that died.
I
the other ones,
Well, I think there were 2 sons and a daughter.
at the rink.
Right. And
Yeah.
one of the sons, I think, survived, and
Did
a
he make it?
daughter. And
Okay.
there was a son and the wife that was killed.
yes, that's what they
Surviving
just said.
surviving member. Surviving.
Right.
Thank you.
And she
Surviving
was
member.
not saying anything good about him.
But she said
At all.
he's a crazy person. So
Right.
someone who loved him would not have committed these surgeries, would not have given
Correct.
him androgynous hormones
Correct.
that screwed with his brain. It's not because we are not homophobic to say this ought not be done. We are saying these are harmful. They will unregulate your emotions, and these will cause you physical harm. We're not saying that all transgender individuals are violent. That's not what we're saying. Do not misunderstand what's being said here today. But the care, in scare quotes, that they're getting does mess with your quality of life. It does create mood swings. It does harm your mental health. What's it supposed to be fixing? This transgender affirming care. It's supposed to help your mental health. It's not doing it. It's doing the opposite.
I was going to say it's going the other way.
I think what Christians need to understand, and I've heard the left say that this is hatred, this is so mean and cruel. And I will tell you that it is not, because what you need need to have compassion. If somebody's confused and having, a mental health issue over this, what you want for them is to be whole. And they can't be whole if they're going to enter into a collapse of reality and say, I'm going to be a woman, something that I biologically cannot be.
You'll never
And
be.
then I need you to pretend that I'm a woman, and I need other people in society to pretend that I am a woman. So this does not just affect the person who is having these confused
They're demanding the worldview be pushed on everyone else.
on everybody else. I would say that it is healthier to bring your mind into agreement with your body not harm your body to come into agreement with your mind.
Because your feelings, I'm sorry, your feelings aren't real. They're
What?
real in the case that you have them. But anyone who's worked knows that if you've ever worked your dream job, hey, I've had dream jobs. And there are days where you say, I just don't want to get up.
Sure.
Guess what? That's part of the human experience. That feeling ought to be shut down, redirected. You say, God, you are more than me. Thank you for giving me the life that you've given me. Whether it's your dream, I've worked dream jobs. I have literally jackhammered sewage and concrete in a mud pit. I've done anything and everything between. I've been in corporate America. I've owned my own business, and I've worked day labor and everything in between.
I don't even want to. Y'all don't even want to know
Some of the things that you've had to do. So but it doesn't matter how good it is. There will be days where you're disillusioned.
Correct.
So isn't it better to submit to God and submit to your purpose, your telos, submit to the fact that you are a man and you do have a wife and you do have beautiful children? Isn't it better? Isn't it more merciful to say, submit to reality?
Yes.
Rather than tilt at a windmill like a gay Don Quixote and then get thrown into the mud.
Remember, facts do not have feelings. Facts are just facts.
Correct.
Correct.
And
Correct. Exactly
something-
right.
Facts are facts.
Correct.
I like what 2020 Liberty said here. Affirmation of, drugging of, surgical transformation of gender dysphoric children in a correct history equates to modern medieval barbarism.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally
Spot on.
agree. And
Exactly.
again, I wanted to go with Sons of Liberty. Phobic implies fear. I do not fear, I'm not going to use that word, the transgender people or folks who believe in Sharia supremacy or leftists. I reject them. I'm just saying that for the censors. But I totally agree. I reject your premise. I am not phobic of you. I am phobic of your worldview and the ideas that are holding your heart and mind captive. And we should not, and again, we have gotten past the libertarian view. I'm sorry. The libertarian view that we can just protect the kids from the transgender stuff and we should allow adults to. We are past that. And the next story really articulates this well. I want to roll into that, and then we'll take some questions and comments. So I want to go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to preface this. This next gentleman, if I can call him that, and I'm being loose with the term, is someone who stabbed his own two children, severing the esophagus of his daughter. And this is in Canada. This is shortly after he was let out on bond. Go ahead and play. This is cut number 9, Mr. Producer. This is the leftist worldview in play.
Good morning. It's your favorite hobo you love to hate. I just wanted to do a check-in, let people know that I am being safe, I'm being secure. I have taken care of my needs, and I am
Do you hear that?
just
My needs.
chilling until I actually go for my sentencing. And yeah, I did kind of realize that we do have a highly unique opportunity here, whereas I'm someone who did something heinous and I'm on social media, whereas pretty much all the other people who do something heinous get locked in a box and blocked out from society, and they don't get to talk to them. So, like,
Social media cred.
does it put me at risk? I'm already at risk. So whatever, I
Thank you,
guess.
Mr. Producer.
Yeah.
He says, hey, I wouldn't do it in the future if I had a choice again. It was a bad thing. But do we really think letting this person walk the street is merciful?
No.
When he stabbed his own two children, he clearly knows that there's something wrong.
He doesn't
This
look very
guy's laughing about it.
And he's not right.
No,
He's
no.
not-
He's not right.
And he's on
there's some-
medication that's messing with his brain.
Yeah.
Probably primarily through some of the stuff. If he's doing any of the transgender stuff, I don't know if he's on androgynous hormones. I don't know. But he's probably on antidepressants. Again, someone fact check me if you know in the live chat. Charlie, I know that you have some questions you got queued up.
Yeah. So Kinsley Wren put in a question here. Could the jabs be causing this?
This has been
so
going.
many gender dysphoria.
This has been going on long before.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it is. This has been going on a while. It's just caught a lot of traction in the last 5 to 10 years.
Well, so here's the thing. You only need so many people to start going crazy before you start to notice it. And I'm going to be very careful how I say this, okay? Because we're going to bring up some stats in just a moment. The numbers are kind of coming in now, because I don't think it was related to anything with the COVID vaccine. There's no proof that is the case. I'm open to it, but I don't see anything like that in the facts and data sets that we have. But rather, if you have 0.01% of the population on androgynous hormones and 0.1% of them act out like this, if you go to 7.3 or 0.73%, that is 70 times the amount of people. So you just have 70 times the amount of outliers on the board who are crazy like this. If there was 0.01% of the population that was acting crazy because they were on androgynous, and only 0.1%, now you have 0.73. That would be 7x. You guys get the idea? We're multiplying the outliers. I'm not saying all transgender. It's not what I'm saying. I want to be very, very clear. However, the worst among us who get these hormones and do not know how to handle the mood swings, the shifts, the outliers, they are the outliers, but they do act out like this.
You know, John, we're talking about drugs and giving people drugs and what they're doing to their bodies. And I'm this is really serious. But in our society, we always approve of a drug, and then after a while, we start to see some of the effects of it. One of the things, and I'm trying to make the comparison of what you're saying. Look what's happening. Look at the drugs that are being given. So one of the things you're starting to hear more and more about, going down to justify what you're saying, is the GPL-1s.
Yeah.
And what they're doing to people's bodies. So we should be talking about this because we've always done it. If a drug is put out there and it starts having a negative effect, people say stuff.
We're seeing the 5-year mark for a lot of these people. We don't know what the 10-year mark's going to look like. So here's the thing.
And are we going to know children who have been given drugs at a very early age?
Correct.
10, 15 years down the road.
We don't have any idea how bad it's going to be. It's the same thing with abortion. Right? So they say there's no negative health effects for a woman having abortion. That's what Planned Parenthood would say. Long ago, we wrote a paper for provokedtoreason.com for Further Every Day. There is actually a 10-year delay in the suicidal ideation that occurs, and it is almost universal. And it happens on the birthday, what would have been the due date of the child, or the day of abortion. One or the other. And the amount of suicidal ideation with women who have gone through the abortion experience, who have aborted their child, who at 10 years, because so you don't see these things at the outset. Some of these things have a long tail on the fool around, find out.
Scale, yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So we have been fooling around with children, and now we're finding out. Case in point, next cut, Mr. Producer. The numbers are in. This is from John Lott over CPRC. Yep, the Crime Prevention Research Center. This is shooters, active shooters, by their population. The red are transgenders by population. The blue are the whole rest of the cohort of mass shooters. You see in 2024, you are 16 times more likely to commit a mass shooting in 2024 if you are the T in the LGBT.
Dang.
It's astounding, isn't it?
Than the normal population. And guys, I messed up right before we got on. J. Michael gave us the first the 2 minutes, and in those 2 minutes, I was like, oh, dang it, because I messed up giving Mr. Producer the cuts. I don't have, and there's a really nice graph for this on Crime Prevention Research see, what was it? crimeresearch.org. There you go, crimeresearch.org. The link will be in the description for our show on Rumble, YouTube, and anywhere you can find a podcast. But in 2024, 24% of the mass shootings were from transgenders.
It's sad.
That is, if you assume, based on the data, 0.73% of the American population are the T in LGBT, 0.73% commit 12% of the homicides in a mass shooting scenario. That's interesting. That's worth noting. That's worth saying. Some people make a big deal about the 13% committing 55% of the crimes. 0.73%. And by the way, just to clarify, the 13% is not 13%. It's not 6.5% because the women aren't the ones doing it. And the African American cohort, it's not the 3.5% because it's not the older men, it's not the young children, and it's not even the men between 14 and 40. It's like 5% of them, and they look at a very specific sort of way. I'm not talking about our friends. We have friends that go to church. They're always in nice clothes, suit and tie, looking good, or they're in a button-up. Not those guys. It's the guys that look the way you're thinking about. They just got out of prison and their pants are hanging low, right? So that is the percentage that's causing all of the, it's 50% of the homicides. So it's not even 3.5%. It's like 1% or 0.73%, right? It's pretty close. We have a couple of protected groups, not Republican black men commit those. It's the Democrats and a very specific subset of them that do the gang violence. It's not even the 0.73% of transgenders. It's the ones that look like the guy in the van laughing maniacally and the guy that has an SS Third Reich tattoo on his sleeve. It's not rocket surgery to figure out who these people are. We really should be looking into that. We should bring back discrimination of a proper type. Say, there was a type A and a type B discrimination. Type A is, if I'm remembering Sobel correctly, type A is, I don't like that guy because he's from that race. Type B is 13% of the population, and it's not really the rest of them. It's the one that dresses just like that with a backwards baseball cap, hanging T-shirt, and his pants are down by his knees. I'm going to cross the street. That is a reasonable assumption based on the way the person looks, the way the person carries himself. We all make that type of discrimination. We need to start saying, wait a minute, if you are mentally disturbed, if you hate your body, bringing it back to the transgender, if you hate your body, maybe we should go ahead and treat this like a spiritual mental issue. And we also should start to look at you very, very carefully for psychiatric assistance.
I thought Poetry Man had a really good point here. Think about it. Trans is ideal for demonic possession.
I totally agree.
I would agree with that. And I think Kinsley Wren brought up a really interesting point that I want to go a little further with. He lives in his van and is out on bail. This is why the many conservatives will ridicule the left and progressives for being for these kind of people hurting us and just having no sense of decency toward man in general.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point to that. And where did that all start? Guys, this is why education is important. You need to be paying attention to what your children are being taught in schools.
100%.
I would submit to you that many of you listening, if you have children, there's a very, very, very small fraction of you that truly understand what's going on there. And this is one of those things, and we had a podcast on this. We did a whole episode on the importance of whose responsibility is it to educate your children.
Yes.
And newsflash, it's on you. It's not up to the government. It's not up to people down the street. It's not up to your neighbor. It's not up to the private school that sits down the street from you. It's up to you.
Right.
This is on you.
I thought it was up to the lady on the TV screen.
No, it's not. And folks, when we start paying attention to what our kids are truly learning, we're going to stop the kind of garbage that's going on right now.
Well, case in point, the further you allow that to go, the more sick society
That's
gets.
right.
And because we don't imprison these people, they become doctors, they become nurses, they become advocates for their ideas in the world, including this next story, which we're going to cover in brief because we got to get going on to the next couple of topics. We've got some good stuff up for you guys. This is the late stage of liberal kindness. We're going to turn to this next story from Canada. This is medical assistance in dying. Mr. Producer.
Also known as MAID.
Go ahead and pull up number 14. Cut number 14.
Keanu Vafayan was 26 years old when he received medical assistance in dying in BC on December 30th. His family says he lived with type 1 diabetes and partial vision loss, but they say his biggest struggle was his mental health, which they believe should have made him ineligible for MAID.
He said everything the doctors needed to hear in order to approve him. Was he actually feeling that way? I strongly believe not.
Keanu's family says he sought MAID in Ontario, where he was from, for several years, but was repeatedly denied. They say he then turned to BC, where he was approved.
He didn't have the items that were necessary to qualify him for MAID, and quite frankly, the medical system failed him.
Under Canada's MAID law, Track 2 applies to people who are not terminally ill, but who have a serious and incurable condition. It comes with additional safeguards, including a minimum 90-day assessment period and evaluations by 2 independent practitioners. The family says prominent MAID advocate Dr. Ellen Wiebe signed their son's death certificate and alleges the safeguards were not fully followed.
We strongly believe that she was coaching him in order for her to check off her own boxes to approve him.
In a statement to Global News, Dr. Wiebe says each patient she has provided MAID to had a grievous and irremediable medical, not psychiatric condition.
Thank you, Mr.
Adding
Producer. So for those of you who are on audio, Dr. Ellen Wiebe, imagine white, liberal, self-hating woman. Think about it. Think about it. Yep, she looks like that. Yeah. That, and by the way, she goes on further. There's footage of her out there saying this, and I don't want to dwell on this too long because I actually want to deal with what MAID does. We've talked about it on this program before, but I do want to say it one more time. I think it merits noting. She did specifically say, "Oh, we are protecting marginalized people from this. Only those who are wealthy and affluent are getting it."
Sure.
Oh, she almost said white. You can tell that this is part of, okay, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat on. They don't like you. They would rather see you not exist if you are white and Christian. That is the problem. So, but I don't want to dwell for long. I do want to go on to the next one. If you remember this is from episode 446, I believe, of Jordan Peterson's podcast, where he's actually interviewing an activist on MAID. And this is the chilling reality of what MAID actually does to the body. Next cut, Mr. Producer, please.
But here's what's really crazy is they said, well, there's got to be more to this. So they did it's a Freedom of Information Act with the NPR, with a journalist, and they got over 300 autopsies of individuals who were executed in America. And they didn't just get the autopsy kind of overview, they were given in-depth files. And when they went through them, 85% of those bodies showed a 2 times level increase of water in the lungs. So what was happening is when this drug is pushed, it causes a drowning, and it's stated as akin to dying by waterboarding or drowning. Meaning, the reason people in Canada who are given MAID seem peaceful is because they're giving a paralytic first. So they're completely paralyzed, then this drug is administered as one of the 4, and they start drowning to death. Okay? So that means that when it's done by IV, it takes 10 to 15 minutes. That person could be literally drowning. Well, they're drowning to death, but they could be screaming if they weren't under a paralytic. They're drowning to death. We waterboarded people in Guantanamo. There's a reason we had to stop. It falls under cruel and unusual punishment. Yet we are having people like dying with dignity say that this falls under compassion and empathy when you're drowning people chemically to death.
You found this out at the Senate hearing?
No, I found this out yesterday when the Senate hearing was given to me and the transcripts were given to me. It was Dr. Joel B. Zivok, Associate Professor of Emory University and School of Medicine, the Vancouver Coastal Health Authority. So what's been happening is that case I was telling you about, Fraser Health is withholding the families. They can't see her autopsy. They're not allowing it. They won't give access. The police have tried to get it.
This is the same case.
This is the same case, yeah. So they will not give it to the family. So Fraser Health is like literally lying and holding information back.
Thank you, Mr.
So what's
Producer.
wild about this?
So she goes on, by the way, I believe that's episode 446 of the Jordan Peterson podcast. It's actually behind the Daily Wire's paywall, but they specifically brought this out. If you want to look it up, link in the description below. If you are on Rumble or YouTube for Further Every Day, anywhere podcasts can be found. This 26-year-old, someone said, well, apparently that guy really wanted to off himself. I don't think he was told that he would be drowning between 30 minutes to 24 hours. He might be conscious as he's paralyzed and being waterboarded. I don't think that's part of the informed consent, because I sure as heck wouldn't sign up for that. In my most depressed state, I would not desire to be waterboarded. By the way, can we ever talk about lethal injection here in the United States as a humane punishment? If that's what it's like, just blow the guy's head off instead.
I was going to bring that up. I was actually going to bring that up.
Oh my gosh, lethal injection is worse.
Or go back to the guillotine or something. That's a lot better than drowning somebody to death
for hours.
For a woman, I'm like, all right, to be shot or the guillotine is such a messy thing.
Why? You're not around to look at it.
Hanging would be fine. I'm fine with going back to hanging because the neck snaps. And in theory, there's actually a bone here that sometimes the theory is that it actually intrudes upon the brain and it actually, damages
they say
from
that
the
if
side.
you do it right.
It actually breaks the connection.
Just like that.
Between the brain and the brainstem.
Right.
And remember,
it's supposed to be instant.
When we talked about who created the guillotine, it was for
shock and awe.
Well, it was for compassion. Remember, because they were trying to take a sword and cut somebody's head off, and it could be really messy. What if I didn't get it at the right time? And so a guillotine was fast and quick and
there was
compassionate for the person who's.
There was a YouTube clip of a show where the guy goes, I just want someone, he's a Nord. He says, I just want someone to hold my hair. And so he has this guy hold his hair. And then the guy and the guy being executed pulls back and then cut off the guy's hand.
So that's in a book. Forget the Nordic.
Let me bring up rock and roll. You've got a really good comment here. They need you alive to harvest the organs. You know what's really interesting about that? That's the progression. That's where it goes. That's where it goes next, and that turns into a money scheme. So before the end of the day, and this is what really irritates me about liberals and progressives at times, is they can't go through the pathology of where something ends.
Correct.
And they don't realize that all they're doing is giving themselves up to slavery, a legalized form of slavery.
Your body is chattel.
That's right.
And so absolutely could not agree more. In fact, I've got a really good friend. She just graduated medical school for respiratory therapy. And I said, so why are you doing sleep therapy? She goes, I don't want to be in the hospital. Why not? Because they rotate us through, and I would have to be keeping people alive just long enough for them to harvest the organs.
Oh, man.
I said, my gosh, you can't specialize? She goes, no. If you're going to work in the hospital as an RT, you have to keep the person oxygenated while they harvest. While their heart is beating, it is cut out.
Oh, man.
And so, again, I don't know what you think about organ donation, but the problem is, there are many cases, and we've covered this, where people are alive and well, and they wake up in the middle of the harvesting. So there's a lot of good that has come from organ donation. But I have to say, I wonder if we don't put that under the same as IVF, because every IVF child, there's 5, 6, 10 children who are killed. So it's the same thing with organs. If we can find a way to do it when the person truly is dead, that's one thing. But brain dead is kind of this nebulous space, and people wake up and live a normal life with their organs half out of their body.
Totally agree.
And so it is scary, horrific stuff. And she goes on to say, by the way, that lady interviewing Jordan Peterson, they saved tens of millions of dollars the first on palliative care. The first year that they brought in. Great interview. I highly recommend. Link in the description below on YouTube, Rumble, or anywhere you can find podcasts to download. You will find that link. Highly recommend you go watch the whole interview. It's a worthwhile interview. She goes, they are saving tens of millions of dollars on palliative care. This is what free health care equates to. It's the end stage of your ideology. Remember, term of the day, worldview. What does your worldview produce? Do you produce a feckless United States that cannot economically vie with China before guns are hot and we're fighting a war on Taiwanese soil for chips? Or does your worldview allow your president the leeway to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and do some negotiation? What does your worldview allow? Does your worldview allow you to say, wait a minute, no, I will not work as a respiratory therapist because I refuse to participate in harvesting made patients' body while they're still alive, and you coerced them. It's not even that they necessarily did or didn't. They had seasonal depression, and you told them to go kill themselves. Like, really? Where does your worldview end?
You know, we used to call that mental health issue is when you wanted to die.
And now it's normalized. It's glorified. 13 Reasons Why, that horrible Netflix show, was a huge part of glorifying that. It's one of the reasons why I don't think Netflix will ever get a dime of my money. Because, A, I don't have the time. B, like, why would you produce that show? So, with that said, on to something a little bit lighter. On to something a little bit lighter. Let's go ahead. This is going to be a segment of Nikki Knows Facts.
Whoa! All right.
Inept robber. No camels are.
I don't know what happened to the audio there, but Mr. Producer, go ahead and bring it back. Yeah. All right.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what happened to the audio there. That's okay.
It's Olympic time. Okay, let's look at some facts for the Winter Olympics. The first Winter Olympics was held in 1924. And Charlie, help me with the name.
I can't. Hang on. Oh, Chamonix. So yeah, Chamonix, France.
And it featured skiing, hockey, and figure skating. All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, okay. Only a few athletes have competed in both the Summer and the Winter Olympics, but only one has won gold in both, and it was an American.
Can anybody name him? This is a really interesting one. And it was done 12 years later. He won one in boxing, and then 12 years later, he won one in bobsled. This is the one and only Eddie Egan.
Oh, I've heard that.
The only person to win gold medals in both a Summer and Winter Olympics.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And to me,
that's interesting.
I don't know if you guys have really been watching any of it. Nikki and I have been watching the curling.
I've been watching them.
And hey, come on, you Canadians that are watching, come on. I need applause here. Curling, go curling. But what's really interesting is that one of the women bobsled runners is 41. And I'm saying, you know what? You go, girl. That's pretty impressive to compete in something like that and win a gold. So,
okay.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one. Eddie Egan.
All right, on to the next one. The Olympic torch. Now, is this true or false? The Olympic torch is always lit in Greece before traveling to the games. True or false?
True.
It's lit on site, isn't it? It's lit wherever the games are. Or are you talking about the specific torch in Greece?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And it is true.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
true.
It is true.
It is true.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I've watched them light the torch in Beijing
But-
and
well,
in the U.S.
Yeah,
and-
but what's really interesting is you don't see the pomp and circumstance.
but they do it
in
in Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand the question. Now that I understand the question, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Next cut. Charlie put that up there. How lame.
This is lame. This is
The
lame.
iconic 5 Olympic rings were created in 1918. What do they represent?
This
Is that 1913 or 18? That's 13.
1913.
Well, you didn't say gay, so what is this?
This represents the, wait for it, 5 continents.
Aru?
Yeah. Okay.
Come again?
Folks,
Aru?
I don't know if everybody realizes it, but newsflash, we got 7. I could give grace
I thought
on
there were
1
8. No,
because
I'm kidding.
1 does not have a permanent population. Got that.
They must be calling Eurasia.
Well,
They must be calling it Eurasia.
I have no idea.
I feel
To
like
me,
that's an affront, though.
Maybe,
Really, yes.
this is what we're. People
Oh no!
living on-
It's just the Africans don't get it.
Oh.
That's what it is. That's gotta be what it is. It's
be.
the 5 civilized. For those in audio, I'm doing scare quotes. It was probably considered Africa probably wasn't included because
In
again,
1913.
the Olympics has always had a slight liberal bent to it, and American left was very eugenic at the time.
Yep.
I
that
don't know.
time.
I don't know. Someone
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong. But just keep going.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Next-
Racism, actual racism, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Winners didn't always get gold medals. At the first modern Olympics, they were given silver medals and olive branches. Now, what's an olive branch? Think about the symbol of olive branch.
Peace.
True.
So you're talking about bringing
Peace.
cultures together and people together, an olive branch.
And that's what the 5 rings
Crown.
are supposed to help represent.
Yes.
If you notice how they're quote unquote intertwined.
I have to.
I
look
know,
this up.
you're- I-
like
it's-
he's between all of us except for the blacks. If that's true,
Yep.
that's horrible.
That's
but
I
it-
totally agree. I
right.
couldn't
Let me
agree
see
more.
what that is.
Going to the next one. Oh, Charlie put that. Are you serious?
Am I wrong?
Now listen to this. The first Olympic Games were held in 1776 BC
BC.
in ancient Greece as part of the festival honoring Zeus. The original festival lasted up to 6 months. You had nothing else to do?
Well,
Nothing
here,
else
but there's
to do
2
for
things
6
here,
months?
and put the cut back up there for just a moment, Ryan, because what I want you to realize, maybe you can see this online, maybe you can't, but these are naked guys running. This is the way that some of the original games were done. That's number 1. The other thing, thank you,
And
Ryan.
barefoot.
Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up, though, that Nikki is questioning here, it was not uncommon for kings to have long festivals and celebrations. It was common for those things to go for 6 months. And you can go back to the book of Daniel and you can see some of this playing out.
So I went and fact checked it. I am unoffended and reoffended.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
So I am less offended for the brothers and sisters in Christ and otherwise in Africa, because it is Africa, Asia, Europe,
Oceania.
and the Americas. Wait a second.
Yep.
What kind of liberal
Now-
nonsense is this?
We need everybody to write to your senator
and
now.
Reoffended. We need 7 rings. This is a
They
is a
count-
national.
they
This is
count-
awful.
The Americas.
They count
All of it.
North and South America as
The
one.
Americas.
The Americas.
Kindly go shove the. Well, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just anyhow.
Okay. Next cut.
I see.
The ancient Olympics were banned in 393 AD by Roman Emperor Theodosius. Okay.
Yep.
Why?
Theodosius the First.
Yeah, and this is funny. He considered them a pagan celebration of Roman Empire. That hurt because they didn't return for 1,500 years. I found that really interesting. He considered them pagan.
Well, if you think about it, but think about this.
So it's the Christian. It's now the Christian Empire because Rome, Pontificus Maximus himself, claimed the ownership of the church. And sorry, guys, for those of you who are upset about that, it's just saying. And then they said anything that is pagan, we will cut, because they were a little scantily clad, and they were running around, or in some cases not clad at all in anything.
Yeah, that is.
So it's pagan. So
and
the
it
Roman
was
Catholic
to
Church.
Zeus.
Yeah,
but what was Rome and Greece to each other? Enemies.
Yeah. Well, they conquered.
Okay.
So if I'm celebrating Zeus and I'm from Rome, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And also again, it was now a Christian,
I agree with that point. Yes.
And so Christianity had become the center. So yeah, keep going.
1,500 years.
1,500 years, it was gone.
That's a long time.
Man, that
honestly
is a long time.
I could have done without it coming back. It's okay. It's just okay.
All right.
I miss 99% of it. On the just pass right by it. Don't care. Sorry, keep going. I'm glad you guys do.
Okay, here's some
We don't watch a
previous
lot.
sports in the Olympics. Previous sports. Hot air ballooning, rope climbing, and tug of war. Yes, you read that right. I didn't think
Wait a
tug
minute.
of war.
What happened to tug of war?
I was just
Tug of war's
telling Nikki.
awesome.
I was telling Charlie that. Of course, there's going to be tug of war.
I would watch if there was tug of war.
I was sitting there
That's a
telling Nikki
great
the other night.
sport.
See,
man.
I watch the precision shooting sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll catch that. I'll catch the archery. I'll catch the skiing.
Okay.
I would watch tug of war. Heck yeah.
Yeah. You know which one that I watched?
I watched
was
the
that
outtakes of the
cross
pole vault.
country skiing where and it was the women's one
And
where
they go
they
sh-
ski.
yeah, that's why.
And then they shoot. They ski for so many miles and then they'll stop and shoot.
Steve
where
is single and ready to mingle, ladies. Anyway, keep going.
But it is that is such an interesting sport. And
cross country is cool.
You guys do not have any taste at all. None.
What's your sport, Charlie?
Dude,
curling.
I'm telling you, no. I was telling Nikki the other night, I said, darling, you make sure you record the hot air ballooning. You make sure you record that.
Well, that was quite a feat back then, though.
Rock and Roll says, I won't watch ping pong. I'll only watch it if it's Tom Hanks in small doses. But anyway, go ahead.
Wait a minute. This is a good one.
Bobsled?
A0C, I'll take a tug of peace.
Tug of peace? I like that.
I like it. I love it.
Next one.
Uh-oh.
The Winter Olympics actually began in the summer.
What?
Olympics?
No.
Think about this. Olympics in 1908, figure skating was in those summer games. How did they get the ice? What did they do for ice? How did they make it cold enough to?
It's a great question. And I did not do any research.
So actually, there are a lot of places where you can find ice naturally occurring in the summer, volcanic ice tubes. And so you can actually harvest it out for that. I'm sure they used a similar process to what naturally occurs.
Well, there you go.
Really interesting.
I don't think there's a next one, is there?
Is there?
I'd have to look it up.
No, we got one more? No?
I can go shoot me a buffalo.
No, we're moving to the next section.
Stay out of my garbage can.
That's enough of
Stay out
that
of my
Olympic
garbage
stuff. We got to go find the garbage can.
I make like Pontius Pilate, wash my hands at that transition, but it is time for some Steve's shenanigans.
Yep.
So what are we on to? Hunting with a handicap.
Hunting with the handicap.
Let's go ahead and get on to that.
I've done it. I've taken some handicapped people out hunting. I've taken them out and have done some goose hunting.
I thought you were talking about yourself. Anyway,
Well, that's
on the
just
golf
a mentally
course.
handicapped.
No, I've watched this man jump up and down, running around with a 357 Magnum, blasting pigs away. Murdered a yopine one time, just exploded that little baby tree with that 357 Magnum because he missed the piglet.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we digress.
I designed that soundbite just with Steve in mind because that is what it's like to hunt with Steve. The banjo rolling down the dueling banjo fast track there.
Susie Bernier, I see you. Susie, I see you. Let's go bowling.
Let's go bowling.
Come
Bowling
on.
sounds like fun.
All right, Steve, keep going.
Yeah, and I've taken some handicapped people, done some pig hunting. That was some of the most fun right there when they've shot some pigs.
So what's the first thing you got to think of?
The first thing you got to think of, Captain, is transportation to your stand. Now, the number one thing you've got to have is reliable transportation. You cannot take anybody out to a stand without reliable transportation.
100%.
Everything you have when you're dealing with the handicap has to be reliable. Every item, every vehicle that you deal with has to be reliable. The last thing you want to do is to take somebody that's handicapped out on the back end of 300 or 1,000 acres and have your vehicle break down and have somebody have to come out and get you at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
So what do you like to use?
That's the worst thing.
Well, he's got 3 of them in the
I've
pipe.
got 3 different things. Number
wanna
one,
see 'em.
Captain, is a Jeep.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, a 4-wheel drive Jeep.
I like them till you have to work on them. I prefer me a Ford or a Chevy.
Yes.
Well,
a Chevy to leave it.
4-wheel drive vehicle.
4-wheel
of some-
drive vehicle, yeah.
Of some type that has the doors, say maybe even if it's a 2-door where only 2 of you, your driver and the other handicapped person, or either 4 doors where you can have possibly 3 people in it.
And you want ground clearance.
Oh, most definitely want ground clearance because chances are you're going to go through holes, mud holes.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
And right now in Texas, we need to be really careful with the wildfires.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
Clearing the
Jordan.
grass would be a big thing.
Yep.
And another piece of transportation. This is one that gets used a lot by a lot of people that hunt in Texas.
You'll spend as much money on your stinking side-by-side as you would on a Jeep anyway, though.
Man, you can. And you'll see some that are jacked up as high as you stand.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's
they got
obnoxious.
It's like obnoxious. Looks like tractor tires.
That would,
on 'em.
but that
It's
would
unreal.
seem to me that would be almost really dangerous.
It depends on how high it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have one that's just a standard height, if you could go back to that one picture there.
Last cut. Yeah, you go.
This one here, see, it's got a bed on it, and you can put items in the back, say like a large tired.
And you can pull a trailer behind those, right?
Oh, most definitely. And if they're like physically handicapped and they have to be in a wheelchair,
Next one.
next cut. This is one that's a track wheelchair.
That looks like
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
This is one of the best things they use for people who are handicapped that need a wheelchair. This thing can practically go anywhere.
It's like some.
It can go in the shallow water.
say
Does it
I
have
saw one of
speakers? Does it have speakers you can
You
play
can put 'em
Back
on
in
it.
Black like when you drive onto the property?
You can put them on there. You can put anything on that, dude.
With some
and that
AC/DC
thing will
you're
go
rocking through the woods.
anywhere. I am
That
not
would be
kidding.
great for somebody who even lived on land, who had their own land, and they couldn't walk around
Yeah,
it. But if they had
absolutely.
something like
Yes.
that, they could go out and, go down to their pond or whatever on their
Correct.
own. And
pretty metal.
fish. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and one person that I went hunting with had one of those.
Oh, wow.
And they are unreal. We took them on a pig hunt, and the thing was, we went out on a side by side, and all you did was just pulled it up into a trailer. We took the side by side, had a trailer on the back of it, just a small trailer, big enough for that. Drove out to where we were going to hunt, got him in his wheelchair, tracked on out.
I thought
and
you
had
were
a-
going to say that you were just going to drive over the pig, like you're like hit and run it, It's like Good Vibes here says that would be an awesome movie villain's wheelchair.
Oh man, yes.
Boy,
Yes.
it would be, wouldn't it? That'd be pretty cool.
Mr. Bond, I'm going to run you over in my tracked wheelchair.
What was great about it is that when the guy shot a pig, all I did was I tied a rope onto it and then tied it onto his wheelchair.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
he drug the pig out
Dude.
with his wheelchair.
Dude, that's epic.
It was great. He thought it was great. Yeah, get a picture of me. It was great, man. The guy got
that
a
on
picture
Instagram.
of it.
If you spent that much money on a wheelchair, you might as well get some fun photos out of
Oh,
the
the
whole
guy loved it.
opportunity.
He had a wonderful time, man.
So what would be some good things to use for someone who's handicapped while they're out hunting?
There's a couple of things that I would suggest when you are hunting.
far as
One of the
weapons of
first
choice.
ones that you can hunt with is a crossbow.
You know, that was correct.
Nick, you were right.
I said B, so I thought
Yeah,
it was
I know.
Okay, right.
Shh.
Yeah, it's
Mistake.
kind of
Just
not
gloss
supposed to
over
say
it.
that.
Gloss over it. Steve made a mistake.
I made a mistake. Don't
okay.
say that. Okay.
Go on.
Here, this is better than using a standard bow because, say, like if someone is in that wheelchair,
Yeah.
it's difficult for them to use a regular vertical bow.
It can take significantly more core strength than some people have developed.
I was
Correct.
going to say that.
A lot more, and it's a lot harder.
It depends on
you
your
got
wheelchair
things
user.
in the way and whatnot, and it's easier for them to pick up a crossbow, have it on a little tripod or something, and then they can shoot it if they want.
And for those asking about how do you cock it, well, nice, good compound crossbows now come with a crank that's
Yes.
built into. I mean, you have
Got
to
a
buy
little
them
handle,
with the
and
crank.
if you take a look at that, you can see on the back end there's a little spot that's out there, and underneath where you hold your hand, where the orange string is, where the wheels are, you'll see a knob that comes off and fixes onto the back end where the butt stock is. There's a little
You can
metal
crank.
piece, and it sits on there, and it cranks. It comes off, and then you fit it back so you don't have that big handle crank sitting there. And it
It's a big
just
deal to
cranks
have.
it real easy with your hand. It doesn't take any time. I've used a crank. I got a crank on mine. I hunt with a regular bow, crossbow. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both of them are fun.
So next option.
Next option is a regular gun. Now, this here is a center fire, and this is a Remington Model 700. Catch this, 30-06.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now,
Long action.
yes, you can also have a shotgun. You can also have a pistol. I've known some people that are handicapped and in wheelchairs that really enjoy hunting with a pistol
Yeah.
a lot.
Something that's lightweight.
Yes.
It's a big deal because if you don't have the opportunity to build up the core, it's something that it really slips the mind until you actually go through an event of hospitalization or whatever, and you lose a lot of muscle tone as an able-bodied person.
And it's usually easier to keep your shoulders and your arms in better strength than it is, say,
The core.
the core area.
Yeah.
A lot easier. And then the next one, you've got to have something to hunt in. Now, you need hunting blinds. We have ground blinds. Then you have what is a tripod or a quad pod. My suggestion for handicaps are a quad pod, not a tripod.
So let's look at the ground.
And then a ladder stand.
34,
First one
sir.
we're going to look at is a ground blind. Okay. Here, you can open the door up on it, and the guy that's in a wheelchair can just roll right on in. You got windows that zip down, and they're meshed, and you can see right through them and see everywhere you want, but they can't see in because the mesh is camoed. And they're great. I've hunted out of those and have shot pigs and deer all kinds of things. They work fantastic for ground blinds. Next one. This here is a quad pod. It's called a 2-person quad pod. Now, this is actually probably the better of the two than using a tripod. A tripod is a 3-legged stand that typically has one seat, and you have to station 2 of them close together. This is better because you have 2 seats right next to each other, and you're on the same platform where everything is together, all of your materials, everything you need, and you can deal with that person. This is not for a person that's in a wheelchair. This is for a person that's handicapped but can still walk.
Okay.
And is capable of being able to climb up on.
I was going to ask that question. How do you get them up there?
It's going to be much easier than trying to winch someone up.
Correct.
If they're that
and I've hunted with people that were, say, had one leg, and then they've got a say like a fake leg or a fake an extra arm or a part of their arm cut off, and they've had to put.
Some people are like my dad too, who has severe mobility challenges. But if he has to crawl up, he can use majority of his upper body, and his legs are not great, but they'll sit there, and he can get himself up.
Right, and see, I've helped people get up from the bottom and help them up. That's not real difficult.
AOC, so handy capable.
Well,
in a world of stand-up comedians, you're in the wheelchair crowd. Maybe you should sit down. But anyway, go ahead. Next one.
And now the next one is a ladder stand, a 2-person ladder stand. I typically hunt in a 2-person ladder stand, period, because I'll either have one of my grandsons with me or I just keep my gear with me. I always have 2-person ladder stands regardless.
Yeah.
I just do, because a lot of times I'll tell my son he can get in it, and he brings my grandson, and they'll sit and hunt out of my stands all the time and bow hunt out of them. Or
it's good for kids to know where food comes from.
Yeah,
and you're not kidding.
Yes.
And my grandson is 12. He just turned 12. And man, I got a picture of a hog he shot that is got probably 4.5, 5-inch teeth on him.
Woo.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I have to show y'all guys.
That's some major teeth.
Big time. I was amazed at the size of the teeth on that pig.
So,
man,
that's been hunting with handicaps.
And that is hunting with the handicaps. And I'll tell you what, if you're ever a hunter and you get a chance to take a handicapped person out, I'm going to tell you something. It is not a big deal. It is something
take them hunting. Don't take them out.
Take them out if you get an opportunity. And it will be the most exciting thing that you can do for them, and they will just have a great time.
Good.
Mr. Producer appreciated my joke. Okay, so Mr. Producer, what are we doing next?
How about screw tape letters?
Okay, we will do the screw tape letters.
Because you got me excited about it earlier.
Because this is, we were going to do a song review or screw tape letters. We're kind of pushed up on time, but this is one of my favorite chapters of the screw tape letter. So go ahead and pull up cut 43, Mr. Producer. So we're going to try to get through this. We don't have a whole lot of time today, but we'll try to move through. Chapter 22. For those of you who are just joining us, you have not heard of the screw tape letters. Here's a brief overview. The screw tape letters, via C.S. Lewis, are a series of correspondence between two demons, Screwtape, the elder mentor, and his apprentice, Wormwood, with whom he's corresponding. In these letters, Screwtape encourages Wormwood in how to tempt Wormwood's human patient, a young man in the World War II era of Britain. In this thread of conversation, Lewis explores the base temptations of man and how Satan and his tempters may indeed think about our own existence and how they may work to tempt mankind. Now, this one is one of my favorites because it is one of the most unhinged things that C.S. Lewis has ever written. Because we're trying to peer into the world of the demonic with C.S. Lewis. Again, think about it this way. This book is Lewis's version of a spiritual war game where you were put into the enemy's camp and you get to hear what
you're like a fly on the wall.
You're fly on the wall, just reading through the correspondence between two demons and what they're talking about. How would the demons think? So remember, this is in the voice of the demonic, but this episode or this week's chapter 22 is the benefits of love in faith. The way that love shields us from the worst possible things, and it actually is a hindrance to the demons. I could have wrote the disastrous effects of love in faith if we were taking the perspective of the demonic. So let's go ahead and start this week's chapter 22. My dear Wormwood, so your man is in love, and in the worst kind he could possibly have fallen into, and with a girl who does not even appear in the report you sent me. You may be interested to learn that the little misunderstanding with the secret police which you tried to raise about some unguarded expression in one of my letters has been tided over. If you were reckoning on that to secure my good offices, you will find yourself mistaken. You shall pay for that as well as your other blunders. Meanwhile, I enclose a little booklet just issued on the new House of Correction for Incompetent Tempters. It is profusely illustrated, and you will not find a dull page within it. So if you're just catching up, Lewis kind of has this idea that maybe there is within the demonic world, kind of like again, you got to think about this from Lewis's perspective, like what we would have imagined an SS Reich style system, where people would be afraid of secret polices. The demons have their own tempters police, and there's this pecking order among the demons that it doesn't have if it's devoid of godly charity. It would be a horrible position to find yourself in. So you could see a little bit of world building that he's having fun. Like I said, this is probably the most unhinged chapter in the entire book. It's a lot of fun. Next cut, Mr. Producer. I have looked up this girl's dossier and am horrified at what I find. Not only a Christian, but such a Christian, a vile, sneaking, simpering, demure, monosyllabic, mouse-like, watery, insignificant, virginal, bread and butter miss. This little brute. She makes me vomit. She stinks and scalds through the very pages of the dossier. It drives me mad, the way the world has worsened. We'd have had her in the arena in the old days. That's what her sort is made for. Not that she'd do much good there either. A two-faced little cheat, I know the sort, who looks as if she'd faint at the sight of blood and then dies with a smile. A cheat every way. Looks as if butter wouldn't melt in her mouth and yet has a satirical wit. The sort of creature who'd find me funny. Filthy, insipid little prude. And yet ready to fall into this booby's arms like any other breeding animal. Why doesn't the enemy blast her for it if he's so moonstruck by virginity, instead of looking on there grinning? Again, I wonder if the demons see when we're truly living in Christ, if we're truly living up to our potential, is there grounds for some schadenfreude and kind of just enjoying that the demonic realm, the angels rejoice at our obedience and the demons cringe?
Yes, I do. I believe so.
That's kind of nice. Huh?
There's kind of a little bit of schadenfreude, a little bit of enjoyment at potentially what the demons might think. I find that to be amusing and fun.
Yes.
It's a good thing. So continue on, Mr. Producer. Then, of course, he gets to know this woman's family and whole circle. Could you not see that the very house she lives in is one that he ought never to have entered? The whole place reeks of that deadly odor. The very gardener, though he has only been there for 5 years, is beginning to acquire it. Pause. What does that mean? that filthy odor. The presence of the Holy Spirit inhabits the people of God.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that it says, resist temptation and the devil will
flee from you.
Flee. Beautifully written, very fun loving. I love Lewis. This is great. Keep going. Even the guests, after a weekend visit, carry some of the smell away from them. The dog and cat are tainted with it, and a house full of the impenetrable mystery. We are certain it is a matter of first principles that each member of the family must in some way be making capital out of the others, but we cannot find out how. They guard as jealously as the enemy himself the secret of what really lies behind this pretense of disinterested love. The whole house and garden is one vast obscenity. It bears a sickening resemblance to the description of one human writer made of heaven, the regions where there is only life, and therefore all that is not music is silence. What's he saying? First off, the idea of agape love is foreign to the demonic realm. It's something that they can't grasp.
Comprehend, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do we, when coming in contact with somebody, do we rub off a presence or just the scent of the Holy Spirit? When people leave our presence, do they walk away edified or do they walk away with gossip?
See, I really like that question, because in just so that our listeners and viewers really understand something here, that's the kind of thing that we ask ourselves here when we walk away from this. What are they left with when we're gone? How do they view that? What do we do? Did they get something that helped them in everyday life?
But do people even find the peace of God?
Amen.
Just rubbing
off
shoulders with you.
Amen.
Do people find the peace of God? That is something I pray. And I've had people say that from time to time to me, say, it's a different being around you for some reason.
Yep.
People who are not Christians.
People should feel that way.
I take that and I go, ooh, am I submitting to God enough? Like, am I submitting to him enough? It's a question that's now raised, like, whoa, shouldn't I be getting that feedback all the time? Right? Like, do I actually submit to God enough that people see an accurate reflection of Christ in me? Because God's word does not return void.
Amen.
So if you are sharing the love of Christ, if you are effusing with the love of Christ, you should have this effect that the demonic realm says, I am sickened and aghast that someone that I am trying to tempt has spent time with Nikki or Charlie or Ryan or Steve. I am sick because this person spent time with one of these folks.
Wait a minute. Why was I last?
Do you need to ask the question? No, I'm kidding.
And Ryan's looking at you like, did you include me?
I said Ryan.
No, I'm just like,
you can't win, Mr.
Steve, what the heck?
Next cut, Mr. Producer.
Oh, my.
Then, of course, he gets to know. Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Oh.
You got me off. Music and silence. How I detest them both. How thankful we should be that ever since our father entered hell, talking about Satan, though longer ago than humans, reckoning in light years could express, no square inch of infernal space, no moment of infernal time has been surrendered to either of those abominable forces. But all has been occupied by noise. Noise, the grand dynamism, the audible expression of all that is excellent, ruthless, and virile. Noise that which alone defends us from the silly qualms, despairing scruples, and impossible desires. We will make the whole universe a noise in the end. We have already made great strides in this direction as regards earth. The melodies and silences of heaven will be shouted down in the end. But I admit we are not yet loud enough or anything like it. Research is in progress. Meanwhile, you disgusting little... Here, the manuscript breaks off and is resumed in a different hand. In the heat of composition, next cut, I find that I have inadvertently allowed myself to assume the form of a large centipede. I am accordingly dictating the rest to my secretary. Now that the transformation is complete, I recognize it as a periodical phenomenon. Some rumor of it has reached the humans, and a distorted account of it appears in the poet Milton, with the ridiculous addition that such changes are shape are a punishment imposed on us by the enemy. A more modern writer, someone with a name like Bashaw, has, however, grasped the truth. Transformation proceeds from within and is a glorious manifestation of that life force which our father, Satan, would worship if he worshipped anything but himself. In my present form, I feel even more anxious to see you and to unite you to myself in an indissoluble embrace. Signed, Toadpipe, for his abysmal sublimity, Undersecretary Screwtape, TEBS, etc. So, like I said, one of the more unhinged chapters in the Screwtape letters, but I find it remarkably fun because you see that there is something transformational, and again, Milton would suggest that is something that is a punishment from God, whereas the demonic realm would embrace it. Transformation is yours to take. Will you be transformed in your heated anger and discourse into a slobbering, drooling centipede, incapable of writing a letter? Or will you be given over to the mind and spirit and body of Christ? Today, are you going to be more a citizen? Are you going to become more a citizen of heaven or more a citizen of hell? What you think on, what you feed, you become like or you grow. And I think that is a great place to leave the Screwtape letters until next time. Mm-hmm. Final thoughts for the day, Miss Nikki.
Well, I would go back to the tariffs and the Supreme Court decision. I don't really find that surprising, and I think that I'm really anxious to see how. Actually, I'm not anxious. I'm interested to see how Trump is going to respond to that and what they're going to do. But I think he's going to overcome it. I think he'll have the upper hand one way or the other. But I will say that the Supreme Court's decision may be a good thing for Trump in a sense, because when he does come back with what he wants, it'll be on a better foundation.
It may actually stand the test of time.
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah, this trans movement in air quotes is something that's kind of strange. I kind of go along with Jordan Peterson on his ideas that, why does everybody want to
police what I say?
Right. Why do we need to try to sit there and just affirm what these people think? It's not helping at all. The people need mental help. It is not a normal idea to think you are not what you really are. God does not make mistakes.
Correct.
Period.
Amen.
You are what you are when you are born that way. It is not a mistake at all.
Yeah. Charlie?
It's this has been quite a deep episode. We've gone a long ways today on a different.
We jammed a bunch in.
We did, and I think Steve brings up something interesting there, and I think Nikki has something on the tariff issue. The thing that keeps coming back to me very quickly here is that evil is ever present. We must do our part to resist and stand firm on Christ. And if there's anything that I could really encourage everybody to do today, don't become down in the mouth. Don't become downhearted. Realize that Jesus, the King of Kings, one day will set up final rule, and that'll be it.
Amen. Mr. Producer, you got any thoughts?
I really liked the Screwtape letters today. I think you hyped it up well when we were talking about it before the show. I like what you said, John Arthur, about what are people left with when they leave a conversation with me? Do I reflect Christ enough when I'm around people? And that's part of it got me thinking of something I do at work to kind of do that. I work at Chick-fil-A, for those that don't know, and every shift. every time I leave and clock out, before I go, I always go over to my coworkers in the drive-thru, and I'm like, I hope y'all have a great day, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I love you guys. And then I'll go out the door, past the people on iPad in the drive-thru, be like, have a good day, guys. See y'all next time. And I do that just to let them know I care about them. I love being around you guys. Like,
you're also making yourself available.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but hopefully it does something.
I'm feeling like a group hug.
But no,
I'm having
I agree
fun with you, Ryan.
I agree. You want to make yourself available because, and again, to quote Lewis again, he said something interesting one time. He said, a truly humble person will not tell you how humble they are. In fact, you won't even notice that they're humble. And this is in Mere Christianity. He said, you will walk away from their presence feeling uplifted. You will feel as though you have had a good conversation and that you were spoken to well and you were heard. But you may also walk away with a faint bit of jealousy at just how apt that person asked you questions, how aptly they asked you questions, how they pursued you. And you might be mildly jealous of just how good they were to you.
Well, don't be jealous of me, John Arthur.
I know. Your humility is only exceeded by your sense
Dan
of humor.
to save us.
So, with that said, final thoughts for the day from me, real quick. Final thoughts on the issue of worldview. Just tying this whole episode together.
Yeah.
Final thoughts for worldview. Does your worldview end in truth? Where does your worldview take you? Does your worldview allow truth in? Or are there places where in your day-to-day, are you afraid to have some conversations with people? Are there blind spots in your worldview? I'd say that our Supreme Court justices, some of them have blind spots in their worldview. I don't think that Amy Coney Barrett is an evil, bad person. I think her worldview has holes. I think the same. Roberts, there's a question whether or not he was involved with Epstein. You have those questions, right? Is he compromised in some way? But someone like Barrett or Gorsuch, is their worldview coherent? Because we are in 3 different wars right now. President Trump, of course, had the right to impose those tariffs, but their worldview is lacking. Seek out the source of your worldview. Is that God the Father, the truth, the way, the truth, the life, and is that reality as it currently stands? Something to ask yourself about. Do I have those holes? And of course, like Mr. Producer said, do I walk away leaving people feeling uplifted? I think that is one of the most important questions that you can ask.
Yep.
So go about this week asking those questions. With that said, we got nothing else for you. We love you. You have a wonderful week.